Hey everyone, my name is EJ Spurl and welcome to the second Gamergate update on Black Trident TV. Now, as I've mentioned before, much of Gamergate is time sensitive, and I've noticed that there's a definite rush to get new information out. Sometimes that hurts us more than it helps us, as in the case of the accusations that Zoe Quinn was not making donations when in fact she was. And yesterday, it seems, Gamergate may have gained a powerful ally. Now, no public support for Gamergate has been officially stated, but due to some drama during a Julian Assange AMA on Reddit yesterday, it seems WikiLeaks has been made aware of the situation and sent a poignant warning to those of us fighting the good fight. And that's that we should be aware that the pattern of censorship and cronyism within the news outlets and PR firms opposing Gamergate is mirrored at the very top levels of society. And they encouraged us to level up and see beyond Gamergate by providing a link to a leaked cable which very closely mirrors the type of censorship we're seeing within the argument today. And that brings me back to consistency. I believe it's exceedingly important to remember what the driving force behind this movement is, and perhaps the deeper meaning. Censorship, corruption, and cronyism is rampant on many levels. In some cases, they're largely innocuous, a nephew being hired on at the family farm, for instance. Higher up the food chain, it becomes unfair. A worker puts 20 years into a company, and the boss's son is promoted to vice president despite not having an ounce of experience. But when you get into positions that provide wealth, notoriety, or influence, it becomes a far different thing. Such positions should be granted to those who have proven themselves, not from quid pro quo. Otherwise, they haven't earned their positions, and the ability to abuse their positions is almost a certainty. But I digress. What I'm attempting to say is that we need to continue to keep our eyes on the prize. As new information is revealed, we must consider it. If it reveals corruption, we must draw attention to it. But moreover, we need to understand the underlying issues with the opposition to Gamergate. Transparency and integrity is by far the most solidified goal of Gamergate, but in order to be sated, we must be presented with the promise and the proof that gaming news outlets, gaming festivals and awards groups, and PR firms are going to be taking the call for transparency seriously. In essence, that is our primary goal. But WikiLeaks is right. We're passionate about our games. We do not want to see the industry we love, give money to willingly, and support financially be controlled by anyone but the consumer public. But it's because we love games and are passionate about them that the call to action has been taken seriously. It's because we're directly involved. While most of us don't know anything about a Danish bureaucrat being appointed to a prominent position without explicitly earning it, we should apply the passion we hold for integrity within games journalism to integrity in all journalism, politics, industry, and social concerns. In that, I personally believe that they're correct. I don't believe that the mainstream media is taking Gamergate seriously because of what it represents. A mass consumer advocacy group demanding transparency from an industry we're supposed to trust. If Gamergate holds out, it will set a precedent that goes far beyond the scope of what we set out to do. It will show people that their voices matter, so long as their cause is consistent. So what this means is that we can't move the goalpost, so to speak. Unlike the other side, who claimed we were all angry white men, and then accused those of us who weren't of being sock puppets, and then later referred to them as weaponized minorities upon being provided proof. We cannot and must not use those tactics, because consistency is one of the few things we have on our side. A man wiser than I once told me candidly that we should all let the truth be our refuge. It means that there will never be a greater defense than the truth, but sometimes the onus is going to be on us to prove we are telling the truth. Over the weekend, I've been hearing secondhand accounts of a presentation made by Anita Sarkeesian at XOXOFest, in which she showed a slide containing the words, "Listen and believe." While a perfect world would have no lies, and thus we could safely listen to and believe anyone, this is not that world. But from what I understand, the deeper context of those words have an unspoken condition, that we should listen to and believe women who make claims of abuse. Well, I don't think that any of us in Gamergate supports the idea of women suffering abuse. The reality is that if we do not question claims, we fall into the same trap that I spoke about in yesterday's episode. We fall into sensationalism. Now, being from a small town myself, I've personally seen vigilante mobs form based off of the offhanded allegations of rape. Allegations that were later retracted as more of the story became known. So we must be skeptical of any claim that can't be quantified, because there are always two sides to a story, and I've seen that firsthand. We cannot blindly believe people on the virtue of their gender. It's irresponsible. We must instead believe those who have proven themselves to be truthful by virtue of action. Character is often justified through action. Walking the walk as opposed to talking the talk. Which brings us again back to consistency. Because even should our demands be met, we must be sure to continue to ensure those demands are respected. Because if we require ethical standards within games journalism, we must be sure to keep a watchful eye on those who might think to subvert it. We cannot become distracted from that goal. This isn't a revolt, this is a reform. And upon achieving said reform, we have to be sure to remain consistent. And if we can do that, we might even be able to affect larger issues, such as the ones that WikiLeaks brought up. But again, I want to remind everyone that we're not fighting a tangible enemy. Rather, we're crying foul against a form of political idealism that is a minority within the games industry, but has friends in high places. We've heard from several notable sources that many refuse to weigh in on the subject for fear of being censored or smeared. We've heard rumors that prominent YouTubers are being threatened into silence. We've seen the very identity of the gamer come under fire without legitimate provocation. We've seen entire comment threads on Reddit disappear like a wisp in the night, and a systemic shadow ban of users that speak up about Gamergate from any place that has a modicum of visibility. The excuse is that this is to prevent harassment, but the truth is that the majority of Gamergaters don't give a crap about Zoe Quinn's sexual history. Granted, it's unfortunate that the information had to come out in such a way, as I could only imagine how embarrassing it must be to have your dirty laundry aired in such a way. But sometimes you have to dig through the dirt in order to get to the gold. The Zoe post revealed information that served as a catalyst for what the Gamergate movement has become. Zoe Quinn's involvement in this begins and ends there. I'm personally satisfied that we're not going to make any more gains by looking in Zoe Quinn's direction. Rather, we're feeding donations to her by paying her any heed. She is the tail, and to remain consistent, we must focus on the head. Now, the same should be said for Anita Sarkeesian's alleged call to war, which he reportedly called for at XOXO Fest. Anita Sarkeesian is, and always has been, a satellite issue related to Gamergate. It's not the fact that she says the things she says, but that legitimate criticism of her opinions are being not just ignored, but completely disregarded. Her voice is challenged by thousands, but she's hailed as a pioneer. She is placed in the position of the damsel in the face of hordes of angry, misogynist nerds. Her refusal to respond to legitimate criticism is excused by the media at large, and her narrative is being accepted as the norm because she has painted the opposition as a hateful group of people. She is guilty of compartmentalization, but she's also guilty of almost Orwellian methods of thinking. As in the words of the esteemed Mr. Spock, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Anyways, thanks for bearing with me, guys. I kind of wanted to offer a different kind of perspective on Gamergate, and I'll be doing at least 3 more episodes talking about it, so feel free to discuss anything I've talked about in the comment section below, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk with you next time.